Hey guys, what's up? My name is Art and welcome back to a new and a different kind of video. This is an eBay haul video. Usually I try to do the eBay hauls, lump it up with the comics. But for the last couple weeks, my comic book pulls have been kind of on the big, thick side. Like a thick ass woman. Thick. You might hear the fan in the background, fan in the window. It's super hot, humid. It's like 80 degrees, but it's so humid. Ooh, baby, sweating my buzz off. But anyway, this is an eBay haul of a comic book company that don't exist anymore. I want to talk about Malibu Comics, okay? Malibu Comics was a comic book company that started off in the late 80s. But in the early 90s, it took a big boom. So, like, for example, Marvel and DC was like the big dogs in the industry. Then, like, in the early 90s, Image took that market, shot up to make it a close third. Then Malibu Comics came out. Valiant Comics came out, which pretty much took Marvel and DC down a peg significantly because all of a sudden there's more comic books out there. More companies and start putting out work. They're putting out that work. And Malibu Comics is one of those comics. Now, Malibu Comics don't exist anymore. Some of you may have heard of those. Some of you may have heard of them. But thing is that I found these. I got a big stack of books on the cheap. See that? Look at that big stack of books. Less than 20 bucks. And the thing is, some of these you can probably find in dollar bins. So if you want something cool and cheap to read, these might be the ones for you. But let's take a look at some of these. Got Mantra #1. Now what happened with, and the thing is, after a while, when they got into the superhero game, they called themselves the Ultra first. Now also, you gotta think about their characters. In the mid-90s also spawned a cartoon series called Ultra Force. It's kind of hilarious because I found them on YouTube. I found the episodes on YouTube and it's pretty funny. But here's Mantra. I remember this came out. It came out polybag with some other stuff, but oh well. These are not complete runs. This is just randoms of everything. This is Mantra #3. This guy named Firearm, I think he's kind of like their version of the Punisher. Now, mind you, I have some of these comics I did have back in the day, but I don't have them anymore. And, yeah. Got The Strangers. #1. #2. #4. Sludge #1 with a backup story, Rune backup story. Rune is like a vampire that feeds off the energy of these ultras. So if you have powers, he feeds off of you. Sludge, it's unique design. Solution #1. See, they try to do what Image did. Try to capture your imagination by decent looking covers. Some of these covers not so decent. Or not so, but see, like they have these action poses. Try to get your eyes. Oh, I want to pick that up. Exiles #2. Freaks #1. #3. Now these are the duds. I mean, I think Mantra was one of the big heavy hitters, the one that sold a lot of the line of this batch right here, but it's not the real batch. We're coming up that in a minute. We got Prototype #1, which is their version of Iron Man, and #2. He's one of the main characters of the cartoon Ultra Force, which is kind of funny. Hard Case, which is like their Cable kind of strongman kind of guy. Hard Case number 2. Number 4, see that, like that action pose right there. And number 5. I love this cover because it's like, oh my god, I got shivved. But that's cool. Now, what happened to Malibu Comics? Well, as you can see with some of these titles, as you can see with some of the titles I've been showing you, you're putting out a lot of stuff, but no one's buying it. At first, when it first came out, people was buying it in droves, and then it kind of faded out. Like, for example, Marvel and DC's been around so long, people are always going to buy stuff from them. People always going to buy it. But like, for example, when Image first came out, first they started off with superheroes stuff. Then when the superhero craze kind of went off, then things like The Walking Dead comes out, which is an Image comic, and the non-superhero Image titles is the ones that's keeping them afloat. I think there's another one. Or was that Dark Horse or was that Image? I can't get. Why the Last Man? It's gonna be out on one of these streaming services. It was another independent from another one of these independent books that hit big. Now, what happens? I heard about Image is one comic called Oblivion Song. It's now being optioned with Jake Gyllenhaal or something like that. So, like I said, Hollywood is coming to these comic books. They say, "Oh wow, we can make stories out of this stuff and change things." Did you know there was a movie called The Losers, starring Idris Elba and Chris not Chris Hemsworth. Who's the guy who played Captain America? That guy. It was based off of a comic book, and then years later, there are no more comic book movies. But anyway, Chris Prime or Chris Pratt or something. Chris something. I can't remember. Here's Prime number 1. This was their biggest selling character. The cool thing about Prime was Prime was a 13-year-old kid who had this goo. This goo just came out of his body and creates Prime. So Prime number 2, Prime number 3, and Prime number 4. And number 5. And he was like their biggest seller for a long time. Then, this is what my favorite person was, this book right here. Nightman, number 1. This is the only book I have on. I used to have this book. He kind of looks like a Batman. And the funny thing was, in the mid-90s, they actually made a Nightman TV show, which I actually used to watch. Cheesy. It was cheesy as all hell, but it was a cool. But like any upstart in the 90s, sales plummeted. Because people realized, because back in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, people thought comic books, if I buy this in 20 some years, this will be worth $1 million freaking dollars. But it's not. When like they printed out 1 million of these, well, not this particular one, but like Spider-Man, they were printing out 1 million comics a month. It was selling 1 million comics a month. So if a comic book is selling $1 million a month, it's not going to be worth that much. It's not going to be worth that much at all. Like the Death of Superman, the first printing sold out before it hit stands. And these days, that thing is probably worth no more than 10 to 15 bucks. Maybe more if it's polygraphed and polybagged and not opened. But you can see right here, this that. So what happened was in the mid to late 90s, Malibu wasn't doing so well, and Marvel bought them. Marvel bought Malibu Comics and all of their properties. So all this stuff is owned by Marvel. And guess what? They bought it, buried it. Because they didn't want DC to have those characters. That's like, for example, DC, they bought Wildstorm from Jim Lee. Jim Lee was one of the Image founding fathers, and he created the Wildstorm universe. Prolific. One of his favorite creations is the Grifter and Zealot, and his Wildcats. He decided he didn't want to be in the publishing game anymore, to work for DC, and sold all of his creations to DC for multi-millions of dollars. And of course, Jim Lee still works for DC to a certain extent, but the thing is that during their New 52, some of his creations was being used in part of the regular Justice in the regular DC universe. And then when they went to Rebirth, all your creations that was cool, gone. Now Batman Urban Legends is the one book I'm buying now, when they're using the Grifter in a really good storyline. Really good. But anything else? No. But anyway, that is a little bit of this Malibu Comics haul. To tell you the truth, I'm glad I only spent less than $20 on this, because these things, you might be able to find these in the dollar bins and they're not really worth much. Not really. But for nostalgia purposes, it was a good deal. I came across on YouTube, I came across some of the cartoons, and I started watching. I said, "Oh my God, I remember watching this book back on Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings or whatever." And then, then about within a couple of weeks later, got them. But anyway, with that being said, that's about. Thank you for going down memory lane with me. Thinking about something, but anyway, think about something, think about nothing. But anyway, with that being said, I want to say thank you very much for watching. If you liked this, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. Like, comment, subscribe. Share this with your friends, families, and enemies, and even the lawnmower guy. And let me have some words of wisdom. Words of wisdom down below. Words of contempt. Words of wickedness. Leave them down below. Let's talk. And with that being said, thank you very much, and thanks for watching.